Greetings and salutations, fellow questioners. I am glad I took an extra 24 hours to record this video because it was about to be very, very different. I want to address why the sound of freedom has become so controversial, because it really shouldn't be when you stop to think about it. The controversy isn't whether or not the movie is 100% accurate, because no, based on a true story, movie ever is. There are several elements in which things were honestly sort of undersold. So why is this movie so terribly controversial? There's no reason for it to be. Isn't everyone against child trafficking? You'd like to think so. Truth is, it isn't. I want to look at the AMC theater thing in a second, because I think there may be an interesting point of hope there. I want to go and first show this point. This came from Jason Jones's tweet. And if you can't read it, he's pointing out how the Washington Post, Rolling Stone, Media Matters, Jezebel, and The Guardian all attacked this film. They called it QAnon adjacent, that it was spreading conspiracy theories about large organized child trafficking groups protected by wealthy elites. Which is funny, because if you actually watch the film, you realize it doesn't do any of that. It does talk about the fact that there are cartels, including drug cartels and other cartels, that do exploit children. That's it. That's all it addresses. In fact, no one in the movie is connected to law enforcement or the government or anything like, or any major corporations. None of that. It only tells, in many cases, in many ways, a very toned down version of Operation Triple. It was Triple Take, where in real life, they do mention this at the end, that in real life it was 120 women and children were rescued in both between Haiti and Colombia. It was two different countries that this sting involved. They show you the pictures of the criminals at the end. They show you clips or still images from the actual raid itself, where Ballard was. This movie should not be controversial. Nothing that they're talking about is addressed in this film. So why are they doing it? Why is this film controversial? Why is the mainstream media attacking it? The simple fact is, yes, because the powerful and the wealthy that the media protect are engaging in forced prostitution, and which includes of minors and children. Here in the US, abroad, this is a massive, massive financial gain for a lot of people. Some estimates have it over $150 billion. Again, human trafficking in general, not just the children's stuff, but $150 billion in general for this entire process. I find really interesting that CBS, I have the link below, was praising Tim Ballard 8 years ago for this raid. This, again, we know this raid happened. We know this event happened. The simple fact of the matter is, this is I have a link to the U.S. Department of State that talks about this. It is believed that 6.3 million humans of all ages are forced into sexual exploitation. This is both male and female, and most estimates have between 25 to 27% of that population are children. So somewhere between 1.2 to 1.6 million children every year are trafficked sexually and forced into prostitution. These are staggering numbers. So why is the media going after this movie, and specifically this idea that children are being trafficked to serve the elite. Well, let's say, do we remember the Nexium cult? If you don't, that is Allison Mack from Smallville on the right, and that's the founder of the Nexium cult. These were people who they ran a in many ways it was a modeling and actress agency, and they got these young women, many of them underage, and they sexually trafficked them. They were arrested and convicted for sexually trafficking women and minors. Who were they selling them to? Who were they pimping these young women out to, except for wealthy businessmen and Hollywood elite? Do I even need to mention these two scumbags at all? By the way, this is Ghislaine Maxwell. She worked for her father. Remember, he's in intelligence. He was in intelligence when he was still alive. He ran the Mirror, many other newspapers. It was essentially a front for the intelligence agency, which did include these sort of acts. I have spoken with several people who confirm that she was literally groomed to do these things for the intelligence agencies. This is her on stage in Disneyland in 1985. The simple fact of the matter is, I could go on for quite a bit if I wanted to talk about how minors have been sexualized by the elite. Ashton Kutcher is actually actively fighting child trafficking. Mark Wahlberg is actively involved now. We've got Demi Lovato claims that she was raped while as a teenager working for the Disney Channel, and that her assailant, after she reported it to the Disney Channel executives, nothing happened to him at all. He kept working. They didn't even bother to pull him from the movie that they were working on together. Dylan Sprouse. I have a link to this interesting article in the doobly-doo below, because Dylan Sprouse, again, another Disney Channel star. He's not the only one. Elijah Woods talked about this. Many other people have talked about how children are sexualized and exploited. Freaking I just forgot her name. I can see her face. Shirley Temple. When she was an elderly woman, she was talking with she did an interview where she talked about how when she was less than 13, a producer tried to sexually assault her. This is a long-standing issue. And it isn't something that just happens off to the side with a bunch of very poor, derelicts. It's the wealthiest among us. And this is where I want to come back to the whole AMC thing. Magnus Serum made an interesting point on he commented on the Rumble channel, so y'all need to go follow and subscribe because you have no idea how long this channel is going to stay on YouTube. Let's be honest. But he made a great point, which is because this morning, Angel Studios came out and they said, look, we don't think this AMC thing is a thing. AMC said, look, we're not doing any of this deliberately. And this was Magnus's point. It is that a lot of these events could be activists on the lower level. Essentially, it's not that the guys who run AMC looked at this and said, we need to stop this. And an order went out to do this because they could have just not taken the film. Disney kept a hold of that film for 5 years. There was no reason for them to do that for as long. Yes, it's a valid point that they've got other films and entire television series in the can, and they've shelved them. They're not going to do anything with them, even though it cost them millions of dollars. They just didn't feel that they wanted to release it. But those tend to be either really, really bad, or they're part of franchises that they have other plans for. This was a film produced by Fox. They essentially got it in the merger. There was no reason not to release it. However, if all the Disney executives, we can't let them talk about child trafficking, it would never have seen the light of day. Now, the fact that the Disney executives themselves weren't looking at getting it out into the public is one thing, but they also allowed it to be sold. If the AMC thing is happening, and let's be honest, some of them are probably just normal technical difficulties, right? We've all had AC go out on a film. We've all had a movie projector screw up. We've all had it. The problem is, for less than 2,400 screens, going 4 or 5 sets a day, you're going to have a few glitches. The problem is the number of glitches. It says maybe something is still going on. But here's the thing. I think Magnus is right. If it is going on, it's on a lower level. That's why it's not every theater. That's why it's not every single showing. It's because, honestly, they're making all kinds of money off of AMC. If AMC really wanted to stop the whole thing, they do all of it. They just say, no, we don't want the movie anymore, and get rid of it. Or they do every screening and every movie. They could find other ways if they wanted to do it on an executive level. Same thing with Disney. Disney could have shelved this thing forever. They didn't have to allow it out. And this is where I think my optimism actually lies and why I wanted to do this. It's not inevitable that these people win. Sure, you've got idiots at the Washington Post, the Rolling Stone, Media Matters, Jezebel, The Guardian, and plenty of others who are running around bad-mouthing this movie and just being jerks. And let's be honest, they are supporting child trafficking. End of conversation. That's what they're doing. But it is not inevitable that they win, because this movie did come out. People are seeing this movie. They are being woken up to the reality of this. I want to show you one other thing that literally just happened today. So there was a bill that was killed in California that was going to make child trafficking a federal crime, which would mean that under California law, it could be it could fall under the 3 strikes bill, right? Meaning your penalties for trafficking children in the state of California could be escalated. Like, they could lock you up for life for doing it. It would fall under those types of regulations. That bill was killed. However, the uproar and outrage of you, the people, us, has forced, and this is the Los Angeles Times, because it was the Democrats that killed the bill with one Republican. The Los Angeles Times. This is not Fox News. This is not One America or any of the other. This isn't some right-leaning group. This is Los Angeles Times. This is their headline. California Democrats reverse course after killing bill to stiffen penalties for child sex trafficking. It is not, I repeat, not inevitable that these people win, no matter how powerful they are, no matter how many of them there are. Their victory is not guaranteed. It is guaranteed only if you and I and everyone out there do nothing about it. That is the only guarantee. So why are those people who are attacking the film so scared of the film is because they understand it just takes us. As long as we're willing to turn a blind eye, as long as we're willing to not force the issue, then they win. That's what it takes. That's why this movie is important. Because for a lot of people, this is just something that happens somewhere else. It's this big concept. It's not anything that they can grab a hold of. That's what this movie changes, is because now for those people who just they don't get it, they'll have the eyes and faces of these children burned into their brains. And now it becomes real. And now they'll stand up for it. They'll stand up against these people. And that's all it takes. Because the movie did come out. Disney executives couldn't keep it from coming out because not everyone working at Disney are one of these people. The stories about what happened got Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein arrested, tried, and convicted. We didn't get everything we needed, but that did occur. Alice and Mac, the NXIVM cult, they all got arrested. They were all tried and convicted. They didn't get away with it. It's not everyone. But we do have to fight. We have to push the issue. If there's one thing that we have to remember about all of this, not just this, but every problem that we see and we're like, it's just too big to face. It's too big to deal with. No, it's not. It's not too big. It's only too big if you let it. If you say it's too big to deal with, I'm just going to go over here and just live my life, then it is too big. There is no problem so grand that millions of us can't solve it. The people who oppose this film know how powerful you are. That's it. They're terrified of you. Not necessarily of the police, not necessarily of any one politician or any one Hollywood actor or producer who is trying to make a change. They're terrified of you. Because any one person can be silenced. 10, 20, 30 million people. Not just the 30 million people who are pissed off, because anger dies off. But 30 million people who are dedicated to an ideal and to a solution, that doesn't get stopped. You are powerful. Victory is not assured for these people. It's only assured of you. Stop. Get everyone you know to see this film. But then don't let it stop there. Don't ever let this stop here. And it doesn't need to stop with just this one thing. We, the people, are powerful. You are powerful. And I'll see you.